How you doing? I'm back again, back again, back again, back again, back again, back again, back again. Good evening. How you people doing? My name is Pico Conway. I'm coming to you from the beautiful city of Smyrna in Delaware, and I'm coming to you on Facebook and on YouTube. You're watching it, Delmarva Point of View on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. Today I'm going to be discussing a very important topic. Today I'm discussing African politics. If you look on the screen, you're going to see the photos of some great African leaders. Great African leaders. Present African leaders. Some are incoming, some are outgoing. But this discussion today is primarily to tell Africans that you don't necessarily have to win the single term. Or leader don't necessarily to win the single term. And if you look on yourself, you see Zambia is a fine example.
Yeah.
The Zambian president just lost the elections to his colleague. And what did he do? He got on the phone and he called his colleague and congratulated his colleague. That's the fine example that African leaders should be setting. That's the fine example African leaders should be setting. I said it in one of my videos before, and I will say again. The example that this guy said, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf set that example for Liberia, my home country. And I think when you look on the screen, you'll see my president, the president of my country of birth, Liberia, in West Africa. When Ellen Johnson Sirleaf completed her second term, she turned over power, peaceful transformation of power, or transition of power to her successor. The thing that is we got to know is we all, as Africans, need to have it in our back of our mind that one of the things that is causing problem and continue to cause problem in Africa is the failure on the part of our leaders to peacefully transition from being the incumbent to giving power to somebody that's supposed to succeed him. And that's where Alassane Ouattara came in. Alassane Ouattara, the Ivory Coast. Look, one thing I want to say, I'm not trying to get involved in the politics, the domestic politics of these countries. I'm not trying to get involved in the domestic politics of this country. All I'm trying to do, I'm trying to discuss African politics because as African, if anything happens on the continent, we all are affected. You look at the conflict in my country, Liberia, the conflict in Sudan, the conflict in Somalia, the conflict in Sierra Leone that's ended. All of these countries that had conflict, every African country and every African citizen were affected as a result of that. Because of that, we have to be foresighted. We have to be proactive to know that one of the factors that lead to conflict on the continent of Africa is our ability or the inability of our leader to transition from being an incumbent president to what? To being in opposition. So let me just say this. The outgoing president of Zambia has shown a fine example, as did Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We need to praise African leaders that give power, that give up power. We have seen time again that African leaders refuse to give up power. Alassane Ouattara changed the constitution of Ivory Coast. This is the country of Ivory Coast, where our people, Liberians, were. During the Liberian civil crisis, they were in Ivory Coast. And the Ivorian government, the Ivorian people were so generous to the people of Liberia, they hosted us well. Now Alassane Ouattara, who came to power because he was one of the darlings of the Western world, came to power, served 2 terms, at the end of his single term changed the constitution. Put Africa on the brink of civil crisis. Again, another civil crisis. We as Africans got to be far-sighted. we have to understand that it's not the end of your life if you don't win. Now this guy in Zambia, Lungu, has the opportunity. He's going to be watching, and supporters going to be watching. And the government that is coming in is also going to be looking over his shoulder because they know somebody with the political clout is coming or is waiting in the pipeline to take over as soon as he start to make mistakes. We as Africans cannot be causing problems for ourselves. And I'm so happy that the president, the outgoing president of Zambia, Lungu, congratulated the guy that beat him. Something that is very rare in Africa. And the people of Zambia to also set a good example that the incumbent is not there is no guarantee because you are incumbent, so you're going to win the second term. There is no guarantee to that. And let me say this. The Ivory Coast is a very fine country. Now, Gbagbo returned to the Ivory Coast. And you have a whole lot of political heavyweights in the Ivory Coast. I just want to make sure, I just want to advise them to use the political muscles to keep Ivory Coast on a stable path. This guy had done something. Alassane Ouattara had done something that most of us who are political observers, who really admire him, his credentials are very impressive. To see that he refused to give power up and then change the constitution to run for the second term, the third term. He's almost 70 something, going 80, working for the third term. But he's not alone. He's not alone. And the reason I'm making this point about this president of Zambia giving up power, the reason I'm making this point is this. This lady wrote an article in the Al Jazeera newspaper, online newspaper. I know Al Jazeera, you know Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is a very reputable newspaper or media institution. She wrote this article, and this the Liberian government, the Liberian news agency rebutted to her paper. And this is her paper she wrote. In her paper, in this girl paper, she said, the same way that Alassane Ouattara changed the constitution in Ivory Coast, and Alpha Conde did in Guinea, it's possible that the Liberian government, the Liberian president, does the same thing in Liberia. That's what she wrote in this paper. I know people must feel that it's crazy that George Weah might change the constitution to state third term. There are a lot of points she made in here, or she makes in here. And the Liberian government make a very brilliant, the Liberian news agency makes a very brilliant rebuttal to the news, to the article. But let me say this. The elections is going to be in 2 years in Liberia, man. The Liberian people are going to elections in 2 years. George will be in his first term in 2 years. Taking my clue from this guy's writing, I can say this. If George Weah wins the next elections by wide margin, if it doesn't go to a single term, I know that the elections in Liberia will go to a single term. But when the elections in Liberia don't go to a single term, and George Weah wins by a landslide, I'm afraid that this girl article might come to fruition. That it's possible that the Liberian government change the constitution for George Weah to stay the third term. That's the basis of my argument. Liberia has seen this before. Liberia has seen this before. I said it in one of my videos. In 1944, the president of Liberia, Tubman, changed the constitution and succeeded itself on many occasions, multiple occasions, until 1944 to 1971. He died in office. It's not that these guys want to change the constitution, it's the people that are around them. But that is not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to expand on the issue, on the point the lady made, that if at all, looking at what happened in the sub-region, Alassane Ouattara changing the constitution to stay the third term, how do you go ahead? Alpha Conte of Guinea changing the constitution to stay the third term. She's afraid, and people are afraid that just might do the same thing. Africa is making progress. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and other African leaders have shown a good example for people to follow. Lungu of Zambia have just shown it. Pick up the phone and call his opponent and say, "Oh man, look, congratulations for your victory." That was it. Election's over. He's going opposition. Prepare to be looking over to bring the government, put the government on the microscope. That's what African leaders should be doing. We can't use elections. Elections cannot be a prelude or a precursor to violence on the continent of Africa. It can be. It can be. We need to understand that elections are there to settle, to decide for the people who they want. Elections should not frighten our population. People should not be afraid when elections come in that, oh, civil war is about to break up. Lungu show a good, very fine example. People say, oh, he had the military in the streets before the elections. People criticize him for a lot of reasons. But at the end of the day, he showed statesmanship. He showed leadership. He showed that Africans can do better. He showed that Africans are not African of yesteryears. He showed that African leaders are making step forward. They have changed the ways of doing things. That losing the elections to your opponent is not the end of your life or your political life. You still have the opportunity to move forward or to stand up another day to contest another elections. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to try to do. That's what we have to do. Now, coming back to the Ivory Coast, I'm interested in Ivory Coast and Guinea and Liberia because these are three countries that are neighboring countries. And anything that happens in one of these countries affects the other country. And we saw it during the Liberian crisis. We saw it during the crisis in the Ivory Coast. Everybody were running from one country to another. So I'm interested. This guy's article has a lot of great points in it. And African leaders, winning elections is just one thing. But how well you implement, reform, provide jobs, opportunity for the young people who are all leaving the continent to go to other places is what will make our continent stable. Africa will never be a stable place for investment, for Africans to invest or anybody to invest until we can start providing jobs for our people so that they can be able to provide for themselves. There's a saying that if you give a man fish, teach a man how to fish so he will fish for himself. But I went on the Liberian government website. I was looking for the Ministry of Labor, to see what the job numbers are. How many people are, how many persons are employed every month. I didn't see that information. If we're talking about development in Africa, we have to talk about development in terms of job opportunities for our young people, particularly the young people. We should not think that development in Africa should not be seen through the lenses of building roads or infrastructural development. Yes, that's good. But the main thing, if you don't provide jobs for the kids, for the children on the continent of Africa, they'll continue to live, cross the Mediterranean Sea. Some of them get drowned just to get to Europe, looking for places where they can feed themselves. So providing job opportunity for our people on the continent of Africa is the most important way that we can work, that we can provide stability and create the atmosphere for investment opportunity on the continent of Africa. Let me come back to Zambia again. Zambia president, I just set a good example. A very good example, and not just a good example for himself and his countrymen, but he set a good example for the guy that is going to succeed him. This gentleman that is succeeding him, the gentleman that is succeeding him, he set a good example for him so that he can know that at the end of your term, there should be a peaceful transition of power. I hope they can get to African leaders who try to hold on to power forever and create justification for violence on the continent. Because as far as the people try to hold on to power, violent people who want to use violence to solve the problem, has a reason to do that. Oh, he hold on to power. We saw that in Liberia. I said it in one of my videos. When Doe refused to give up power, or he wanted election, which of course they said were fraudulent. Thomas Kuhlenberg and other people in 1985 went to Liberia. Liberia is already a struggling country, one of the poorest countries in the world. The one day it was a butter coup d'etat, people died, businesses destroyed, and slowly the country degenerated into crisis, and at the end of the day, millions or almost 250,000 Liberians died as a result of that conflict. But winning elections is never the end of the democratic process. Winning election is just telling you that the people at that particular moment in time are giving you their blessing to lead the country. You have to provide jobs opportunity. You have to pay roles. You got to improve the agricultural sector. You got to make sure that the agricultural sector is able to provide food for our people. You got to make sure that the educational sector is equipped to train the next generation of African leaders. And most importantly, African leaders that are coming should be making sure that they're working towards African unification. They should stop being dreamers. They should stop being dreamers only, but they should act on the dreams. They should act on their dreams. They should work together to make sure that they can improve the lives of the people, not just for the domestic country, but for the continent of Africa. For the continent of Africa. The continent of Africa needs every African leader to work together collectively to improve the lives of the people. Because as I said already, and we continue to say, that our continent cannot afford other conflicts. We can't afford other conflicts because of elections. I'm so grateful that Zambia has set a fine example. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, I know. Let me come back to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf again. I love Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I said that on many occasions. I love Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first African female president. Now she's not the first. Now somebody from Tanzania, the lady that just succeeded Magufuli. So she's not the first now, female president of Africa. The lady that just succeeded Magufuli is also female. But I love Ellen Johnson Sirleaf because she set a very great example when it comes to transfer of power. Peacefully and facilitated the transfer of power to the guy who succeeded her. George Weah, German right there, with his beautiful wife. But my attention has been drawn to the article this lady wrote. I said it before, even this article, that it's possible that the Liberian government, we are changing the constitution to stay in power for the third term. And I'm not alone in my thinking. Other person was thinking just the same way. But I can say this. There's the caveat. If George Weah doesn't win the next elections by a landslide, it will be difficult for him to even think like that. We are just prognosticators. We're just surmising. We are prognosticators, surmising. We are pundits who think what's going to happen, looking at what happened in the sub-region. In the sub-region, Alassane Ouattara, Alpha Conte, Ivory Coast, and Guinea changed the constitution. The president changed the constitution. These are old guys in the 80s, or late 70s, 80s, early 80s, changed the constitution to stay in power for the third term. So when George Weah is a young guy and he wins the next elections, who knows what's going to happen? Nobody knows. And we can say that, we can think that the idea is it's crazy because it happened in Liberia before. 1944 to 1971, William V.S. Tubman from Maryland County, where I was born, where I come from, changed the constitution to serve the single term, fifth term. I don't know how many terms he served. But it wasn't because he wanted to do it. It was the people that are around him advised him to do it. That's why the Liberian Post say at that time, they said, so say one, so say all. They continued to carry William R. Tubman until his death. Even if not because he was pronounced dead in the UK, they would have still made him president for life. They would have made him president for life. So if I say George Weah might change the constitution, I'm just a prognosticator. I'm surmising. Look at issues in the sub-region. What had happened before. And when I come down to Zambia, where the guy just won, he's one-term president, like Trump. He one-term president. He didn't fight. He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything to undermine the democratic process in Zambia. He transferred power. Or he's going to transfer power. Because I don't know whether he transferred power. He lost the election. I don't know what the inauguration is. What a transitional period looks like. But I can just say this. It's very important for us to understand that the president of Zambia, Lungu, has set a very pretty example for African leaders to follow. The continent of Africa has been burning for years. And anytime there is elections, people are afraid. That conflict, Somalia, supposed to be going to elections. People are afraid. Sudan, people are afraid. Mali is burning now. Who knows when they go to elections? And everywhere that elections are about to be here on the continent, people are afraid because they are afraid. They think that conflict is about to happen. But Lungu has a fine example. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has a fine example of African leaders, that African leaders are capable of turning over power to the next person. Lungu picked the phone up and call the winner and say, congratulations. Say congratulations. So we African, we have the ability, we know how to do what is right. We know how to do what is right. Ivory Coast is a country that one of the great countries of Africa. But Alassane Ouattara I set a bad example for the Ivory Coast. Very bad example for Ivory Coast. Alassane Conte, Alpha Conte, whatsoever his name is, in Guinea, set a very bad example for Guinea. And we look at Weah, George Weah in Liberia. We're looking up to George Weah. Ellen Johnson herself set a good example for Liberia to follow. And we know that George Weah is going to follow. But we cannot overlook the fact that a lot of people in some region are doing things that making us to be afraid. We are political pundits. We are political observers. We are prognosticator. We're surmising that something like that might happen because it's happening in the sub-region. And ECOWAS have not said anything to Hassan Ouattara. They are not sanctioned Hassan Ouattara. They are not sanctioned Kante in Guinea. And these guys are enjoying power in those countries. So every leader now can do it. And when that happens, I don't think much people can do. Maybe people can engage in violence, that's all they can do. But the thing that is, we need to understand that because you lost the elections, it's not the end of your political career. It's not the end of your political career. You still have an opportunity to be an active player in the ballot politics of your country. Lungu has set a very fine example that we all can follow. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has set a very fine example that we can all follow. Hassan Ouattara has set a bad example that we should not emulate. Alpha Conte of Guinea has set a very bad example that we should not follow. Look at Nigeria. Let me sub to Nigeria a little bit. Look at Nigeria. Jonathan Goodluck, or Goodluck Jonathan. He lost the election. He's the incumbent. Incumbent lost the elections. Nigeria. What did he do? Peacefully transfer power to his successor. Africans, we know how to do right. Africans have the ability to do what is right. Elections should not be something that we use as a means to go to conflict. We should not do that. Because they have elections to decide who lead our country. These things have made us to go step backward. Let me come back to my home country, Liberia. I know that international observers said that Samuel Doe cheated in the elections, the 1985 elections. The election was not fair, and what have you. But let me say this and say this clearly. People might understand and say that, oh, you're trying to back Doe and stuff like that. But look at 1985. If you look at the sub-region, I don't think there were many countries in the sub-region and Africa in general that were having elections. I don't think there were many countries in the sub-region, that is West Africa sub-region, that were having elections at the time we have elections in Liberia in 1985. Let's agree, for the sake of my discussion, that that Samuel Doe, who is from Grand Jide County in Southeastern region, the same region that George Weah comes from, let's agree that he cheated in the cheated election, the election of flawed, that he stayed in power. That was a teachable moment for the country. That was a teachable moment for Liberia. If we are allowed Doe to stay in power, Liberia democracy from 1985, and we don't bring violence as a means to solve our political problem, inject violence into our political culture, that people who are brought violence, guns, and other things, they will reward them with power. If we allow ourselves to grow from 1985 all the way to 2021 and continue to have elections, let's agree also that in 1991, Doe cheated election and won a second term. Our elections or our democratic process, our electoral politics would have matured up to now. But what did we do? We introduced violence. Charles Taylor came to war. Prince Johnson and other people. What Liberian did, Liberian voted for these people, and now we're talking about we want a war crime code. War crime code, when we voted for the people, the time we had the power to vote against the people who voted for Charles Taylor in 1997. who voted for Prince Johnson from Nimba County as a senior senator in Nimba County in 1997. If you voted for these people, you're telling the people that what they did to Liberia was right. Now you want a war crime code. I think that's a waste of time. People who calling for war crime code are wasting their time, because we who are not calling for war crime code, we're going to fight against it vigorously, because when you guys have the opportunity, when you guys have the power to resent people who brought conflict to Liberia, you elected them to power. Prince Johnson, Charles Taylor, Zoe Penn, and you go down the line of people who we are elected, and we awarded people who tear the country apart, who gave them political power. Now we want war crime code. Why are you calling for war crime code? For what? Liberian government doesn't need to spend any money for war crime code. That's a waste of time. We don't want war crime code in Liberia. It's a waste of time, complete waste of time. People who saying that, they're wasting their breath, because we are not going to accept any war crime, because that's the international community does not even care about Liberia. They're wasting your time. People get a lot of big fish to fry than to think about war crime code in Liberia. Even you thinking about international community to solve your problems all the time, you're wasting your time. They get their own problems to solve. So to come back again, let me come back to the guys. These guys have set a very good example. And I want to praise the African leaders who gave up power. Africa is now a backward continent, as some people think. Oh, that's a backward continent. Everybody there, the snakes bite the people in the town. People don't wear clothes. Children are all hungry on the side of the road. The next thing I'm going to come out, I will come up with something where I will bring two pictures. I will put it on my screen and ask you which one is from Africa. So you tell me which one is from Africa. Africans are making progress. Let's be proud of the progress we made. But the progress we are making, let us make that progress collectively. When I say collectively, let's operate through the engines or through the corridors of the African Union. Let's not do things separately, because if we do things separately, we're going to undercut ourselves. Let's put our resources together. Let's work together, because the problem of Liberia is the problem of Ivory Coast. The problem of Sierra Leone is the problem of South Africa. The problem of Sudan is the problem of Somalia. So if we start thinking like that, we can move the continent forward and move it forward fast. Our continent is blessed with enormous amount of resources, but that is just resources. We got to translate the resources, transform the resources in bettering the lives of our people. That's what we got to do. That's what we have to do. And I'm so proud of African leaders who are doing it. But I want the champion of African unification or Pan-Africanism should start coming from Nigeria. And that's why I like people who say he's a criminal, he's this. I like former Nigerian President Abraham Babangida. For one thing only. He was so concerned about African unification or Africans solving their own problem. I like people like Sani Abacha. They were evil-minded leaders. They did their own bad thing. But they were concerned about the African continent. Mohammed Gaddafi. I will do an entire 1-hour video on Mohammed Gaddafi next week. The guy did a lot of great things. Not just for his country, but for the continent of Africa. So today's topic is about Zambia. The fine example that Zambia has shown that African leaders are capable of transferring power when the term's over. That's how we got to do. We can't hold on to power forever. Think about it this way, right? Think about it this way if you're in Liberia. Think about it this way if you're in Liberia, you're president. Liberia was gained independent in 1847. So you think the guys you think the president of Liberia want to hold on to power that even if he did, you think he'll still be around today? You got to transfer power peacefully and build it should not be about you. It should not be about me. There's a country music say, a country song I say, when was the last time you did something good for the first time? Think about it this way. Even in your whole presidency, if you don't do anything, when you lost the election, give up power because you set a good example for the African continent. You set a good example for the African continent. Africa cannot continue to be beggars. We can't continue to be beggars when we get all of the resources. Look at Nigeria. Africa should talk about who's going to Nigeria. Look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Africa should talk about are going to Kinshasa to go for a job. Look at countries like Ivory Coast now tearing itself into pieces. We all should try to improve the lives of our people, thinking holistically about Africa, not just my own sector, not just my own tribe, not just my own town, not just my own family. We got to think about Africa as a look at the bigger picture of our continent. Zambia president, outgoing president Lungu, set a very good example. He didn't behave like Trump, President Trump. Set a good example. As I said in my last video, I was looking at, because anytime I'm doing these things, I go on these people's website, I go on Facebook, I go on Twitter and see what people are saying. Somebody was saying that the president had military all in the streets. When the people go to vote against you, you can have whatsoever military, they will vote against you. I don't know why he had the military there, but when the people go to vote against you, they will vote against you. Our problem here is our leaders' inability to give up power when they lost the elections. That's the problem we have. When they lost elections. So as a result, people are afraid of conflicts. Conflict going to break out when election coming. We're supposed to be jubilating. But a lot of people are afraid that conflicts are good. Conflict election is a prerequisite to conflict in Africa. Many African countries. And we need to try our level best to change that mentality, to change that way of doing things. Our country is making progress. Equally so, there are a lot of things we got to change around. We got to change a lot of things. Look at Mali is not burning. Burkina Faso is not burning. Ethiopia is now on fire. One of the largest countries on the continent of Africa, Ethiopia, is now on fire. Niger is burning. Somalia has been burning forever. Burkina Faso is on fire. Mozambique is on fire. Wars all over the place. Sis. We need to use elections to improve the lives of our people. We have come to the Western world and see how young people don't even worry about who's the president because they get jobs to feed themselves, to buy the cars, to go out and have fun. They have jobs. In Africa, young people don't find jobs. And I was talking to some of my friends in Liberia the other time. They said development is in Liberia, development things. Do you have a job? No, I don't have a job. That's the biggest thing. All the thing Joe Biden is doing right now, all his focus, their focus are always on job numbers. Every month they look at job numbers. Job numbers are important because if people don't have jobs in the United States, and many Western countries, I have not traveled to other Western countries, they get angry. And they get angry with the incumbent. They get angry with the incumbent for a lot of reasons anyway. But if the job numbers are bad, the president is always worried. We need to create jobs for our people, for young people. Why should our young people feel that the only way they can get good life, live good lives when they go to Europe, come to America? It should not be. We should create the atmosphere, the conditions down in Africa so our kids can live better lives where they are. Some of them travel and they drown in the Mediterranean Sea. They go to Europe, they can't even have better jobs. We can create the environment in Africa, the conducive environment in Africa, so that our children stay there. They stay there and improve their lives. A lot of opportunities in Africa. And Africa is making progress. Those of you who think that Africa is not making progress, wasting your time. Those Africans who don't believe that the continent is making progress, they are wasting their time. Because the continent is making progress. The whole world is helping Africa. Africa just needs to help itself. We should start looking for aid somewhere else. We should start looking for aid somewhere else. China used to receive aid before. But China is now giving aid. Africa needs to start the same mentality. Let's stop being aid recipient and start being aid givers. Something happened in Burkina Faso. Islamic terrorists are terrorizing the place. When conflict happens, Africans should be going there, providing aid. When something happened in Mali, we Africans should be going there, providing aid. If something happening in Cameroon, Paul Biya staying in power forever, we should be going there to provide aid for the people who have been displaced. As I say again, I'm not trying to get engaged in the domestic politics of this country. I'm discussing African politics. As an African, I'm discussing African politics. That's my intention. Not to get involved in the internal politics of any country. I mentioned Goodluck Jonathan in Nigeria. I mentioned Alassane Ouattara, whose picture is there. I mentioned George Weah, the president of my country of birth. And I mentioned Zambia. I'm not getting involved in the domestic politics of this country. But as an African, I have a stake in every African country. I have a say in the body politics of the country, of the continent. And so when we see something going right, we praise it. When we see something going wrong, we talked about it. And Lungu herself a very good example that African leaders can follow. The African leaders can emulate. That Africa is capable of making sound decisions that can improve the environment, the investment, or the economic environment to encourage investment on the continent. Not investment from some Western guy who has money in the suitcase or suitcases. Investment for Africans in the diaspora too. People are willing to invest on the continent, but we have to create the environment necessary so that these people can invest. And Lungu herself a good example that when we have a stable environment, we can invest. People can invest in Africa. The lives of our people can improve. Our women can have respect. People will not go to war over foolishness. Zambia set a good example. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf set a very good example. Alassane Ouattara needs to change his ways of doing things. Alpha Conde of Guinea got to do something different. And the African Union too has to step up and bring these leaders to justice or criticize them, sanction them. That's why we got to think of transforming the African leader. Let's say African Union. The president of the African Union should be elected by Africans, not appointed by the African Union, the leadership. No. So my brothers and sisters, I thank you very much. As I said, you are watching the Delmarva TV, the Delmarva Point of View. That is this TV channel. This TV channel will grow. That's why we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Delmarva Point of View. Delmarva Point of View. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. Support us. As I said before, TD Jakes started with a small church. He turned it into an international empire. And many people started with small things. The intention of this channel is to discuss committed issues, and then on our Thursday, we discuss African politics, things that are happening across the African continent. And today's topic, we're talking about how our Zambia president set a very good example for African leaders to follow. We want to manage other African leaders. We want to admonish other African leaders. Urge them to set good example. And winning elections is just one step in the democratic process. The people voted for you, the incoming president of Zambia. This gentleman, that gentleman, the people want you to improve their lives. Build roads, Provide jobs for the young people, everybody, especially the young people. Improve the educational sector. Especially and most importantly, work with other African leaders. You guys work for the unification of Africa. Africa will not move forward until we can get some federal form of government in Africa. Whether it's Pan-Africanism through the African Union, we need to do that. And we can, with the ordinary people, should not leave the political destination of Africa in the hands of the politicians. All the protests we have, the Arab Spring, and other protests we have across the continent, we got to channel that into a political movement across the continent. We can start forming an African party that across all African continent. That we have a branch in Nigeria, Ghana, Liberia, Guinea, Burkina Faso, South Africa, Mali, Somalia, and other African countries. We need to do that and channel our political grievances for the continent through a political institution. Having these protests in a separate way is not going to help us. But that is a discussion for another day. That is a discussion for another day. Tomorrow I will be discussing. Tomorrow is Community Friday. Community Friday is where we talk about community issues. I expect to have a guest here tomorrow. If everything goes well, I might be having the president of River County Association here, Honorable Isaac Toll, to tell the Liberian people, the Africans. This is an African channel. This channel will grow. I said it before. This is an African channel for all Africans. If you are interested in coming on the channel, email me. This video will be emailed to everybody. If you are interested in being a part of this channel, contact me. We'll have you here. My co-host is not here today. He'll be here tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. If not, he'll be here next week. And we'll be here to talk about we'll talk about things that happen in our community. Again, I want to urge all Africans not to use violence to solve the problems, especially our leaders. If all you lost the elections, transfer power. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did it. And the president of Zambia is doing it now. He lost the elections, congratulated his, the winner. And that's the new approach the Africans are having. And as I said before, Liberia went to elections in 1985. People used the election as a pretext to bring violence in Liberia. 250,000 people died as a result of the war. The war lasted for 15 years. If we are just giving ourselves a space, even let's say we give those 15 years, by this time, Liberian democracy would have matured. And then now, after we have elected people who destroy our country, what are we talking about? We are talking about we want a war crime code in Liberia. I want to say the war crime code we're calling for is a complete waste of time. Liberians don't need war crime code. Liberian need is for the government of the day to improve the lives of our people. Our government needs to work with other African governments and find an African solution to unemployment, an African solution to better healthcare, an African solution to better infrastructure, an African solution to better educational system, African approach to African problems. That's what we need. Thank you very much for watching my channel. I will talk to you next week. My name is Pico Conway. I'm one of the hosts of Delmarva Point of View. You can watch us on YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitch. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you tomorrow, or I will talk to you next week. Have a blessed day. I will talk to you when I talk to you. Bye-bye.